Thank you for listening to Footnotes, a Fellowship Mosaic podcast. This is a space for us to dig deeper into Scripture, what is happening in our community and culture, and continue the conversations we start on Saturday nights. We're excited to have you join us as we pursue truth, holiness, and redemption together.
Hey, buddy. I'm back after 2 weeks of being out of the office and bringing weird energy. But this is Noetzel, and I'm here with Nick.
Hi.
And I've been out, so I've missed a lot, and I'm trying to work back through the backlogs of messages that I missed. I just caught up on Rodney's. He did a great job. I'm grateful that he took a hard passage and just led well through it. I'm excited to catch up and listen to Jack's and your last one as well. But you've invited me here. What was this past Saturday? What were you leading us through in our Psalm series?
So we've approached the whole series kind of reading the Psalms through the lens, particularly of how do they teach us to pray. So we said there is a lot of true things about God in the Psalms, and that's a very correct and accurate thing to look for in the Psalms. What do the Psalms teach us about God? But we've particularly been reading them through the lens of as prayers that God gave us to pray. How do the Psalms teach us to approach Him and pray? And we said that for several of the first Psalms we looked at, they were all Psalms for a particular experience somebody might be going through. So a lament psalm for a time of grief and confusion, an imprecatory psalm for when you're experiencing injustice, a thanksgiving song for when God has done something great and you want to say thank you. But this last Saturday, the psalm we were looking at was of an entirely different nature. It's a section called the Psalm of Ascents, which we think probably means that they are a group of psalms set aside in the Psalm book specifically for people who are making a journey to Jerusalem for one of the three big festivals. So we kind of compared it to if we were a church that still had physical hymn books, if there was a section in the hymn book that were our Christmas carols. And it's like you turn to that section at Christmas season, and that's when you go there. Similarly, they would turn to these psalms at the times of festivals, which means for people in Israel, those psalms would conjure up all the memories of their Jerusalem journeys growing up. And so it would have that very nostalgic feel. And I should apologize here for my rough, scratchy voice. Allergies are dominating me this week. So, yeah, that is what it is. So so we kind of said, one thing that the Psalms of Ascent teach us is the value of having regular patterns throughout our year, as opposed to, and there's an absolutely appropriateness for, I'm going through this thing right now and I need to talk to God about this thing. And that's kind of that can be the up and down of life nature of prayer. But then there's like this steady, I'm doing gestures with my hands that are completely unhelpful for an audio podcast. But there's also this steadiness of this idea that we come back to regularly, no matter what we're going through. And the Psalms of Ascent, the religious festivals, they kind of create those rhythms to come back to over and over again. So Psalm 121 said the Lord watches over us. He never sleeps. He never turns his face away. He's always watching over his people. So we talked about that kind of upside down, right side upness of the lament psalm. It's often really appropriate to say, Lord, it feels like you've turned your back on me. The other side of the coin is God never turns his back on you. Yep. So we need to be able to do both. We need to be able to be real about, I really feel abandoned by God right now, but then also have the consistency to say, God never abandons his people. Yep. And so we kind of ended by talking about our years and how our years have a rhythm to them, both a spiritual rhythm that in the church are centered around the two landmark events in Christ's life, his birth and incarnation, which we celebrate at Christmas, and his death and resurrection, which we celebrate at Good Friday and Easter. So those are kind of our big moments in the church calendar that structure our year. But then we also said we all kind of have a we might say secular calendar, that even if you don't have school-age kids, I've heard people in lots of different places in the country that all say the school year really does still structure our year in America. The way maybe farming used to structure other cultures, for us, the school year of fall launch, school, back to school stuff, Christmas break, spring semester, and then the summer holiday, like still does kind of structure our regular year. So we kind of pose the challenge of look at your year and your rhythms for the year, and what would it look like to put rhythms and practices in place to pause throughout your year and reflect on the Lord in that time.
It's good. So it sounds like just where my brain is pinging here. I have an alarm that goes off on my phone at almost midnight on New Year's Eve that reminds me pull up Death Cab for Cutie and play This Is the New Year, and so that the lyrics are singing along with the experience I'm having of I don't feel any different. It's just a thing I do. Or listening to Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie on Thanksgiving Day, just like I don't know why, but I just do it.
Yep.
I wouldn't recommend the song anyway, but it just is a thing. Is it like that where you're saying it's tied to more of a calendar day, or is it more just like I pray the same prayers on Monday mornings because it's the start of my work week and I'm praying that?
I think it's both. Okay. And so that's something that I it surprised me prepping for this psalm because I had never seen this before. But in Leviticus, where it lists the feasts for Israel, I was ready to read about the big feast, and I didn't realize the first feast listed is the Sabbath day.
Nice.
So that's actually listed as a feast for Israel to celebrate. So I do think there is the weekly rhythm.
Yeah.
That is part of this, that we have a rhythm to our weeks. And then there also is the kind of cross the year one. But it creates these habits and these structures to bring continuity. If when we're talking about lament and imprecatory psalms, that's all about when life gets disrupted. This is more about, well, what gives life continuity and structure.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of one of the questions I want to ask you about, because this is something that I think you do really well and you lead us in really well, is how can we bring some intentional structure in a culture where structure seems to be kind of getting torn apart everywhere. We talked some on Saturday about what technology has done to things, even things like sun up, sundown being a rhythm for work.
Yeah.
The light bulb has destroyed that.
Yeah.
Going to a place of work no longer matters because of the internet, and so you can work anywhere. So what kind of intentional steps do we need to do to create structure as so many of those structural rhythms and boundaries are breaking down?
That's good. That's a good question, because I'm thinking as you're prompting those things about there are practical choices we've made as a family of that are disadvantageous in lots of ways and advantageous in some ways. We don't have internet at home, and so I can flick on a hotspot on my phone, and it sort of works sometimes. And when it doesn't, I get frustrated and drive the 20 minutes to the office so I can sit down at my desk and check my emails or whatever I was trying to do. And so that it does force me a little bit to keep at least the task portion of my job in a place. Obviously, the relational portion is all over the place, and we go where people are. But so yeah, I guess in that way, I'm saying there are actual choices of things that you can do or not do that can force your hand. I might even label like it an addiction to how I used my phone. Like it was really compulsory. I wouldn't say that I was wrestling with any sort of illicit things or anything like that, but it was just like, I'm going to just browse for hours. Yep. And I find it hard to set it down and be engaged here. And it really has been, I don't know, it was multiple years of my marriage conflict, and we're, 6 or 7 months into, I deleted the browser on my phone, and it just makes it like easy to not browse now. Like somebody sends me a video and I save the link, and that's certainly not convenient to save it in a separate document and go back and watch it later. But I find that I am not spending all my time doing that. I don't miraculously have tons of time to do other things all of a sudden. Right. Or maybe I do, and I'm wasting them in other ways as well. But that's certainly been, regarding tech, it's been choices that we've made. Similar to like without internet, we don't stream things. So when we want to watch a thing, we choose to go rent the movie at the library or buy the DVD online and get it shipped to us so that we can watch whatever we wanted to watch. And that sort of kills the binge and those things. So, but also I can say I enjoy some of those things about the internet too. So I'm not disparaging in it. Like, it was hard to shut it off because I really like delight in weird internet ephemera and strange memes and things. It's just a fun thing. So, so I don't know if that is a start down that path of just like choices that you can make day to day that will create the space for something else or pause or reflection.
I think it's really helpful because you're reminding me, Andy Crouch has a great book called Culture Making. He has another book that's been really popular called The Tech Wise Family. Yeah. Culture Making is a little bit more his broad commentary. Okay. And what he argues is that culture, his definition of culture is it is what humans make of the world.
Okay.
And he's using an intentional double meaning there. So he means like physically make, like what do we shape into the world, but also meaning, what do we make of it in a sense of significance.
Cool.
And one of the things he says, and he's kind of pushing back, and you did this as well, against this easy black and white binary of technology is good or bad. Oh, this is a good piece of technology, this is a bad one. And he argues that like all technology is shaping us in innumerable ways. And so when we go from a walking and horse riding culture to a car driving culture, that changes us as humans in profound ways. And just part of intentionality, you know, it's easy to just ask, am I watching movies that have sinful content that's leading me to sin? That's a good question.
Yeah.
But another maybe equally valid question is just what is the effect of watching movies on my life?
Yeah.
Like what's the effect of when going to the theater used to be an event and you had to actually like go with people to the event of theater to now having a theater in our home? How does that change our lives as humans? How does that affect us spiritually? How does that affect our walk with God? It's a profound question.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously like family is a constraint on some of those things. So I as a single man, like loved really campy films and would raid the dollar bin at Blockbuster and buy everything that just looked really dumb and terrible, and really like enjoyed them for the campiness of them. If I'm going to spend time watching a movie now with a wife who doesn't like choose that often, doesn't love it often, I really just want a story that is like going to compel me. And so most of the movies I watch now like stick with me for weeks, and I'm trying to make sense of like, why am I so stirred by this? And often I think it's because they're reflections of the story, the big story that we're all, involved in following Christ, that bad is being undone and good is being elevated and made eternal or whatever. So maybe moving back into the more general then, so there's kind of like choices that can be made. There are also like the weekly rhythms of things. This is a place where I've been really blessed to be married to the woman I am, who is the skills that she brings. She's a very tenacious person, so she can like set her mind to a thing and then do it. And she has no bucket for a guy like me who's like, no, I know exactly what I should be eating, and but a chicken sandwich sounds good, so I'm doing that again. And clothes don't fit, and it's time to upgrade the wardrobe rather than downgrade the body or whatever. Anyway, so she doesn't have a bucket for that. But what she has done for our family is my best intentions sometimes aren't enough to merit actual application in our family. And so we've just said like, you're going to be really good at like kind of keeping us on this direction, and I'm going to like help us pick resources that I think are going to be really good for our family. And I'll lead the times, or you can lead the times, or we can let the kids lead the times. But we're just going to make a rhythm as best we can to try to hit things most days. And it's really forgiving. Most of our 1-year books have taken 2 years to do. And, but it is the choosing something that gets us going on a path. We did, essentially like a read through the Bible in a year, but it was kind of high points and a few prayer points. We did a book that Jen Kanak brought to Mosaic and hands out to parents in the parent-child dedication class. I got extra copies around if anybody wants one of those. They're helpful little books that took us about a year to go through, and it was enjoyable. But we also do things like let's pick a verse and just like work on it for a while until we memorize it, or let's during COVID when we weren't doing church, we would pick a hymn and we would sing it until we memorized it, and then we'd move on to another hymn or song. I say hymn, but some of them were the pretty sung metal songs that I liked, that I was just like, lyrically this is compelling, and we'll sing it pretty and not scream it, and that'll be great. But so some of it is picking those like daily moments of engagement as a family. There are personal engagement moments. My wife finds getting up at 6 before the whole family gets up and having a quiet half hour is like her best thing. And I know not to get up then because it's a threat of anybody being in the house at all to her. I find that kind of hacking my desire to listen to things on the way to work, I just like listen through the Bible in a year over and over again. I'm also subscribed to like a psalm a day, and I'm just like, I want to continue to hear these things. And then I get to study deeply when I'm preparing something for teaching, and that rhythm has served me well. I know not everybody has that rhythm or that desire or the delight in audio mediums or whatever else, but it has been a thing that has served me well.
Can you speak to a little bit, maybe just what advice you give? I'm imagining a group of people with this experience. I know that parenting created a motivation in me for structure that I didn't have before.
Sure.
So it's like, I need to create this for Karis. But I would say anytime I'm left to myself, I give up on structure. So like, if Cassie and Karis are gone and I'm home alone, it's like, I'm going to stay up late. I'm going to sleep in. I'm going to do every unhealthy thing for myself. So I can imagine a lot of people who currently aren't maybe married with kids, who are single.
Sure.
Man, it might feel kind of weird to go, I'm going to create annual rituals that are just for my own spiritual formation and health.
Yeah.
How would you say to them? How would you speak to that?
Yeah. I got married when I was 23 on my 23rd birthday, and not to insult the 23-year-olds in the listening crew, but I feel like I grew up with my wife. Like afterward, I was barely out of college and hadn't really made any adult rhythms at all. It was still like, I'm leading a small group on Wednesday nights, and I go to my own campus ministry functions, and I go to church on Saturday nights or Sunday mornings, and I do my own devotional rhythms, and that was what I needed. But I think that there's so much freedom in that single stage or young married stage. Each of them are going to be different things, but I know friends that will go, I need a day a month that I set aside. It can be a weekend if I can't take time off, or it can be a weekday if I've got time off that I can use, or if I'm scheduling jobs for myself and can work a different day in that week and create a weird gap where everybody else is busy, and so I can't distract myself with other things, and I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm gonna go kayak on Beaver Lake out to an island and just sit for a day, or I'm gonna just find a coffee shop and put on headphones and listen to music that compels my soul and read slowly, or I'm going to just close all the doors and windows in my house and just sit in the dark and contemplate. I don't, whoever you are and whatever you like to do, it's sort of making the rhythmic choice. Maybe it's not, I can do it once a month for a day, but I could actually set aside a weekend every 3 or 4 months, once a quarter, and go away somewhere. I can buy a cheap tent and go camping somewhere, or I can spend a good long day hiking with friends. Maybe a good plug for Scott's group that's going on hikes. If you like to go out in the woods and walk and be with other men, he's leading a group, and I can get you details if you reach out. So, but yeah, it is my best intentions. If I don't schedule them, life catches up, and it will get away from me. So because I'm trying to work hard to study well, to teach well, I block Tuesdays in deep focus space, and I'm like, I don't want to do emails here. I don't want to do the minutia work tasks. I want to create the space for my scattered mind to actually slow down, to steal Gary Oliver's thing about the jumping monkeys. My brain is going a million directions, and it's going to take a while for me to actually settle in and find the space of deep communion with the Lord. And I don't know if that's happening. Sometimes God surprises me in the quick moments in the day or in the family engagement spaces. And sometimes it's just I'm keeping the rhythm because I'm inviting him to show up if he can. And he's certainly there, but I'm maybe not slowing down enough to listen, or not tuning in to engage him well. But I find that slow space is really a gift to me. And again, that's not, I have a job that lets me spend a half day on a Tuesday really deeply in study, and not everybody gets that. And so it really is choosing the things that are important. We schedule Tuesday nights with our kids to work through. We alternate the older two first and the younger two next week, and we're working through books on theology of sexuality. And so we're just with the younger boys, it's you're just learning the right language, and we're having the first conversations, and it's uncomfortable for all four of us, but you're figuring out. For the older ones, it's just I'm trying to make the space for you to have conversations with somebody you trust, and it might not always be me, but for now it is, and I want you to be well equipped to navigate what is a sexual world as a sexual person, honoring the Lord. So I'm thinking if we have Thursday night fights, my wife and I, we set aside Thursdays and we keep a running list through the week to be able to sit down and work through the tension points that we have. So these are maybe some of them like spiritual pieces. Some of them are just like relational connection pieces. Some of them are training my kids, or some of them are personal enrichment. I happen to be a person that likes these things and thrives in these things. I'm also a bit like you, though, that like when all my kids are gone, I'm like almost feral and I don't know what just happened. And it's like, yes, I'll eat Taco Bell for breakfast and lunch and dinner and regret being alive. This was a terrible decision, you know? But there's something about, I do think that maybe is in the way of, the feast and the fast. Like I think there is when all of society shuts down and everything is removed, there is a little bit of a, what do I do with this space and time? And the times where I have planned ahead and my kids are all gone, I make good use of those times, and I pre-check out the movies that I want to watch. I've been keeping a list, and I go get those movies, and I am thoughtful about what I'm watching, and I arrange to meet certain people and spend time with them, and I create space for to-dos that I've really wanted to tackle around the house or whatever. And when I haven't thought ahead, I am a lump of a guy. And so
I think, go ahead.
I'm saying all this, and I also need to acknowledge, like, I look at so many other people and go like, you are a disciplined person, or you are, and I feel very undisciplined in so many things. So I can point at all these like little pieces that I sort of like have in my life and struggle to maintain, and often fail at, and go like, this guy, I actually know, like, deeply studies the word every morning for 2 hours before he goes to his demanding job, and he also is a dad, and I deeply am humbled by that. And so I mostly want to say that I hope this is not comparative but compelling, that it's like God is kind to meet each of us in our differences and lead us into rhythms that can help us encounter him and love him and serve him well. And if it's left and right comparison that we're doing, it's going to be soul killing. And if it's, brother, hear what God is good to do in my life, be encouraged, he loves you too, then that's something I'm willing to do in this space. So
that's really good.
Yeah.
You use the word, and I think this is a good one, and maybe this would be the practical advice I would have us end on. You talked about the idea of you used the word appointment. So you said like Tuesday night, I believe you used the word, you have an appointment with your kids. I think the permission to use that word for creating space, I think one of the biggest difference between our culture and ancient Israel on this issue is the culture was all in on Sabbath.
Yeah.
So everybody was helping reinforce it.
Yeah.
Our culture's not.
Yeah.
And something I remember Robert Cupp saying to me years ago is he said, Nick, put on your calendar an appointment for your time to be alone with the Lord, whether that's your time in the morning or your Sabbath or whatever. And then when somebody asks, hey, can you do breakfast at this time? Say, no, I'm sorry, I have another appointment. And they don't need to know what that appointment is.
Yeah.
Because they might not consider that a legitimate reason.
Yeah.
But you're choosing to make it one. And I think that is a helpful way that we can kind of create that space in our culture, is to make appointments, even appointments to do nothing.
Yeah.
And keep those appointments.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I'm thinking about who was it? Was it somebody on staff, or was it somebody quoting somebody that was talking about just wasting time with Jesus?
That's a Gary Oliver regular statement.
Gary.
That guy.
Man. Okay, well, he gets extra points then. Gary, you can redeem them at the Mosaic store, the web store.
All the prizes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something about, I'm just back from vacation, and these last 2 days have been laughably like moment to moment, hour to hour. Even the like gaps that I think I have for something else, I'm suddenly like, oh no, this other person has asked a question, and now I'm into another like mini meeting in between my other meetings. And it is the threat of living every day that way. I certainly didn't live that way during vacation or at camp. When I was a camp parent a week ago, and that was a blast too. And I'm coming off of maybe the best vacation I've had in a really long time. So I'm really grateful and feel excited about the time ahead. But there is a threat of in a culture that values productivity and redeeming every moment, that if we redeem every moment by scheduling every moment, by planning ahead on every moment, and we don't plan the slow spaces to waste time with the Lord, waste is the funny word there, because it's certainly not wasting, but it will feel different than I hit 10 things off my punch list and that was great. So, but I do value those spaces and those times and long for it. It's on my goal list every year to plan ahead and do those things. And sometimes I do a great job and actually plan those and get away for those. And sometimes I put a thing in my calendar and say, this is my hiking day. Go on a hike, Matt. Just leave and do a thing. And I'll look at it and go, yeah, and I'll schedule something else in the place of that and kill the hike and not go. And so I don't know. I'm not an expert or even good at it, but I have had some small wins that are worth celebrating and some other losses that are worth humbly sharing as well. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Thanks for talking us through that. I think it's really helpful, and I think maybe our challenging question for the body would just be to think through what you need to schedule in, what empty spaces and wasted time might you need to put on the calendar, whether it's relationally with the people in your life, or just to be alone with the Lord and just to slow down and be still. And what would it look like to commit to that this upcoming year? So there you go. Any signing off words, Matt?
Not a one. Sorry.
Then sign off. Thanks for listening to Footnotes. We'll see y'all soon.